better city stuff is some of the most exciting potential in the city.
We need that with like Midtown. This close. Stop it somewhere else. Something's got to be messed up.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
Good. It's amazing how many people. Must have been a big one.
It wasn't.
Doesn't this
No,
mean
this
that?
was our
Well, that runs the dispenser. I'm like, hey.
So, at our paper.
Well, welcome. It is 7 o'clock and time to begin our policy session. We welcome all of our visitors here and Catherine Murray. Excuse me, I should say, we welcome Catherine. Thank you for being here. We'll begin tonight with our opening session. Turn the time over to Councilmember Young for that.
Everybody, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father in heaven, we give you thanks for this opportunity we have to meet to do the business of this city and its residents. We thank thee for the blessings we enjoy in this land. We thank thee for those who dedicate their lives in our service to the safety and well-being of this nation and this community. We ask thee to bless us now with wisdom in the decisions we make, that they can be in the best interest of the city, and that thou will bless those who step out in harm's way to serve us, and all those who serve this city. We ask these things in the name of my Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bruce. We have minutes to approve tonight from the September 12th work session, the September 19th work session, the September 26th work session, and then the October 17th work session, and the October 24th policy session. Council, have you had a chance to review the minutes? Are there any corrections, additions?
I believe it was the September 12th, 2017 minutes.
Where's your mic?
Oh, thank you. I believe it's at the top of page 4. It's relative to comments that I was making about the North Davis Fire District potential, to the status of that. And I made a comment to the effect that Councilman Peterson believed that the West Point individuals were in favor of, and I think the word I used was set representation. I just wanted to clarify that remark, that it was a uniform, like a uniform, meaning just equal representation by city. Just to clarify that comment, that's my only one. Thank you.
Any other changes?
And there was a change that was
Yes, we did receive those.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you won't need to. We're good on those.
Okay, seeing no other changes, I'll entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move that we approve the September 12th work session, September 19th work session, September 26th work session, October 17th work session, October 2017, as amended by Councilmember Peterson.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We had scheduled tonight a presentation to our CERT graduates, and they were not noticed, and so we are going to move on from that item. We'll reschedule that at another time. That takes us to item number 2 on our agenda, which is our open comment period. Was there anyone here to speak to the council this evening? Okay. Then we will move on to item number 3, which is to consider approval of ordinance 2017-18, amending the Clearfield City Code Title 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic Safety by amending Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 and enacting Chapters 3 through 5. We'll, oh, Stuart's going to take that one. I'm looking out for, yeah, no one else wanted to do it. We'll turn the time over to Stuart for some background on that.
Council Mayor, this is the part of what we discussed on the October 24th work session regarding Title 7. Some updating, some general updating to the language to add clarification, and most importantly, to change from a criminal enforcement aspect for selected parking violations. So based on the conversations on the October 24th work section, we went back, staff reviewed notes as well as the audio, and made the changes that are shown in the report that were attached and read. Since that time, I did receive a couple of comments that we probably want to discuss now. There was a couple of them were pretty minor. There was a section 72-2B, council should just refer to as city, so we'd be suggesting making that change as well. 7-2-7, which is a section that talks about the authority of the police department as well as the fire department to conduct traffic and help with civilian safety. There was a word, the word or was in there. We'd like to change that to and so they can do either or both. There's also a lazy pinky on my part on the word therefore on 755. So we need to add the E to the end of that. I think that was it in the Title VII sections that weren't already in your packet that you had to review. So if there's any other questions.
Did you want the definition for prima facie?
Oh, that's true. So
Because we'll add that to that ordinance.
This one kind of bleeds over into the other ordinance as well with teen. There was a question regarding some legal terms that were in there, mostly prima facie and giving a definition. A quick research shows that it does appear elsewhere in our code as well. But after talking with Nancy, we thought we would add that to Title 132 under our general definitions and just give the legal definition for that term. So that's not part of your packet, but that was based on a conversation with Councilwoman Peterson that brought that up, and we found it elsewhere in the code and thought that would be just a clarifying change to make as well.
Yeah, so if you choose to add that, just amend the ordinance, asking for that definition to be added there.
Okay, any further comments, questions, concerns?
I appreciate it because I know everyone sat through a long list of my comments, so I appreciate that I had were met, that I felt impacted the structure and perspective of the ordinance. There's still some things there that I feel are important that I would rather have changed, but understand I'm in a minority on that. So, but I think it could be better. I've been around enough to where I've been in meetings where people have said, well, that was weird, why did they ever do that? And I think we're probably sometime in the future with a different council and different staff are probably going to be facing some of that and say, well, that was kind of a weird thing to say there. But as far as the substance and the concept of it and the objective behind this, I'm fully supportive of it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Vern. Okay, well, thank you, Stuart. Seeing no further comment, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd put forth that motion, but just a point of clarification. So Stuart and Nancy, on that definition, that would be on the following item then as far as adding that definition, not this one right here, but adding that to number 4.
No, it'll be added to this one,
To number
2017-18.
Okay, I just want to make sure I have that in there. Your Honor, I would move then to approve ordinance 2017-18, amending the Clearfield City Code, Title 7, Motor Vehicles and Traffic Safety by amending Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 and enacting Chapters 3 through 5 with the amendment of a definition.
Definition.
A definition for prima facie to our definitions and would authorize the mayor's signature to any necessary documents.
Second that.
Okay, Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Phipps?
Aye.
Councilmember Roper?
Aye.
Councilmember Young?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. We'll move on to item number 4, which is to consider approval of ordinance 2017-17, amending the Clearfield City Code Title 1 by enacting Chapter 15, Civil Infractions Hearings. Stuart, it's back to you.
Council, Mayor, this dovetails right into the other, what we just adopted with Title VII. Part of Title VII was creating the civil enforcement of selected parking violations. This Title I, Chapter 15 allows for the due process rights of somebody who receives a civil infraction so that they can contest that. It's essentially the same as what we discussed on the October 24th with the exception of some minor word changes for clarification that are reflected, as well as work session. I received information from the Administrative Office of the Courts regarding their lack of desire or their opinion that these appeals should not go to the Justice Court to hear the civil appeal. So we got rid of that, we changed that, and there is a state code requirement for an administrative appeal. So you still have a right to appeal it after the code enforcement hearing examiner. If you're not happy with that resolution, you'll have a right to appeal that. That'll just go to district court. So instead of going to justice court as we talked on the October 24th and then to district court, it'll just go straight to district court. Other than that, it's the same as what was previously discussed.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Council, any questions, comments? Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance 2017-7 code Title I by enacting Chapter 15 civil infraction hearings and authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilmember Roper?
Aye.
Councilmember Young?
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson?
Aye.
Councilmember Phipps?
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Takes us on to item number 5, which is to consider approval of ordinance 2017-19, approving the consolidated fee schedule, enacting traffic school tuition and fees for unauthorized use of streets. Stuart, back to you.
Here I am again. This is the final prong of what we've just been discussing tonight. There's two major, I guess, changes or additions to the consolidated fee schedule, and that is the tuition for the online traffic school that we discussed in October 24th work session, and that's being suggested at the same amount that we discussed fee that an individual would pay. Should they choose, it's a voluntary program. They don't have to do this unless they want to and want to receive the benefits of not having a conviction on their driver's license record. The city will not, as we spoke before, we will not be receiving that full $50. It's anticipated at this point that we'll be entering a contract with a third-party vendor that will be retaining $10 of that $50, so it'll actually be $40 that's actually coming back to the city. And then the second prong of that is the proposed amendments for the unauthorized use of streets. There's been a suggestion, and I would recommend it as well, of changing that from unauthorized use of streets to parking violations under our consolidated fee schedule, so the average Joe will be able to find it much easier if they're looking it up. The unauthorized use of streets is the legal definition, what's in the code, so we'll still keep that in parentheses. You just look up parking violations to know what you're going to be paying. And as we discussed, there is a typo in here, and that was sent out earlier today that we caught regarding the reductions. So the parking violations will be, actually I'm catching another one as I sit here, is $125 for a parking violation, but you will get a $100 reduction in that if you timely pay it within 10 days. Within 20 days, it'll be reduced by 50, and within 30 days, it'll be reduced by 25. And then we'll also need, Nancy, because I'm editing as we sit here, the trucks, dynamic braking, and restricted vehicles, 752 parking of trucks. That should read as 200, not 125, and they will still be qualified for the reductions. And that the 125 and the reductions, and the 200 are what we discussed on the October 24th work session.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Stuart. Council, any questions, concerns?
Yeah, Your Honor, I'm just sitting here. I just want to comment one of the things I said in the work session, that I'd hope that we, in enforcing this, don't be heavy-handed on this. And we recognize we're trying to make our community a livable community. And just because we can, we shouldn't go out and mass ticket people, or because somebody's bumper is over the sidewalk or something like that. So just think about, would I give this ticket to my grandma? You know, so. Maybe that's too strict.
Yeah,
you will.
I got no problem there at all.
Yeah. Okay. So that's more just an observation.
Yes. Thank you, Vern. I appreciate that.
But I'm glad that we are implementing something now that is clearly in deal with the problems that we were facing last year better.
Thank you, Vern. Seeing no further comment, I would entertain a motion.
Here and I move to approve ordinance 2017-19, amending the consolidated fee schedule, enacting the online traffic school tuition and fees for unauthorized use of streets, and with the amendments as mentioned by the city attorney, and authorize, do I need to list those out, Nancy, or is that
No, you're fine. We'll
Okay.
take it from there.
And authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Councilmember Young.
Aye.
Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
Councilmember Roper.
Aye.
Councilmember Phipps.
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Next item is to consider approval of the option and lease agreement with Vertical Bridge Development LLC for leasing approximately 2,000 square feet in the southeast corner of Steed Park for the erection of a communications tower. And, City Manager.
Good evening. This is an item that we discussed in work session about 2 months ago on September 12th. And so since then, we've just been finalizing the language of the lease with Vertical Bridge. Really, the only significant difference from what we discussed 2 months ago to this now final version is that where we thought we had an agreement that Vertical Bridge would allow the city to place some very small communications equipment on their tower rent-free. Once that got higher up to their attorneys and all, that was not possible. So it wasn't a deal killer from the city staff perspective. We do feel that it may be possible some point later after the tower is constructed to revisit that question and accomplish that. If not, not a big deal, but we would like to be able to accomplish that. In terms of this lease, are first of all, the Vertical Bridge has an option on the premises, and that rate or the rent, so to speak, for that option is I believe it's $1,000. Yeah, $1,000 per year. Once they actually begin to lease the premises, then it's $1,250 per month with a 2% escalator annually. The term period is 5 years, and that would automatically renew unless Vertical Bridge decides to opt out at the conclusion of any of those 5-year terms. And so that would renew for a maximum of 10 terms. Let's see. They would need to construct a paved driveway accessing the premises from the parking lot for Steed Park. And I didn't mention it, but the premises are in the very southeast corner of the park, as we discussed in the work session. So nothing's changed in that regard. The tower would be a monopole design, as opposed to some of the forgetting the term for it now. We'll make it look like a tree or a flagpole or stealth. That's the way they call it, a stealth pole. It's not a stealth pole, it's just a regular monopole, which we have in a few places through the city. So over the course of a single 5-year term fiscally to the city, that would bring in $78,000 of revenue. And if that continues for 50 years, then we're talking $1.27 million after the escalators are included in that. Money that the city would be able to utilize and would come into the general fund. The council reacted positively in the work session, and staff is comfortable recommending approval of this lease now. Are there any questions for me?
I had two thoughts. One of them was that we ensure that the design, and I'm sure this is being considered, we're sure that the design doesn't negatively impact access to the trails and the
Of
other-
course.
Yeah.
And that's an important point, Mr. Phipps, that this is the lease, and the land use approval process is completely separate and has not yet begun, though they have started to now talk with our planning staff. So they would need a site plan approval. It's a permitted use in the, need a conditional use permit or anything of that sort, but the site plan approval would, for example, take into account trails and maintaining those connections, any architectural concerns of the equipment building at the base, fencing, and all of that.
And then the other is just to make sure that the neighborhood is notified when this actually happens, so that they're...
We can certainly do that. Site plan does not require a public notice. We can provide a courtesy notice.
Yeah, but I think our discussion was not necessarily ask permission, but just notify that that's...
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, any further questions for JJ? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Seeing no further questions, I'd entertain a motion on this.
Your Honor, I'm moving with the Vertical Bridge Development LLC for leasing approximately 2,000 square feet in the southeast corner of Steed Park for the erection of a communications tower, and would authorize your signature to any necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, That is unanimous. That brings us to item number 7, which is to canvass the results of the municipal election held on November 7th, 2017. And we will turn the time over to Nancy Dean, our city recorder, to talk numbers.
Mayor, council, I'm happy to stand up here and talk the numbers of elections with you. These weren't ready for me to pick up from the county clerk's office till 4 o'clock today. So I sat and visited with them about them a little bit before about that time. So I want to go to the second sheet that says municipal general election, official canvass results, and looks like this. I want to start there first and talk about what we saw with the election. So the county registers us at 9,068 registered voters. We had 1,578 of those voters vote by mail. And 102 showed up here at City Hall to cast a ballot on the machine, which is a little bit over 5% of those that voted that showed up here. So the majority of our ballots were cast by mail. As full that is in reaching out to our citizens. We had one vote cast at a vote center. What that means is they didn't come here to our city hall to vote. They voted somewhere else in the county, just one person. So I think it was good to allow that opportunity. We got one person that way. So we had 240 ballots accepted by mail after election day, after the end of election night. And we'll talk about provisional ballots in just a minute. We had no paper ballots at the polls. And so all of those were counted, and the final number of ballots cast was 1,921 in the election. So let's talk about the ballots that didn't count. That's one down. So Clearfield is 1, 2, 3 down on that list. So of all those ballots that came in, there were 42 that were not counted. So the county, we have to account for the reasons why they weren't counted. And so if you go across there, you can see those reasons. Of the 40, one was returned because the voter was deceased. 20 were not counted because there was no signature. One was not counted because there were no tabs. In other words, the voter removed a portion of the ballot that should have remained intact. 14 were not counted because the signature did not match. And then 4 that were postmarked not timely enough. So the one thing I want to make your signature doesn't match. That's not the end of it. The county makes every effort to try and get that voter in to come and sign their ballot or recast a ballot. They do everything that they can to try and make that happen. So they contact, when the signature doesn't match, they contact that voter and try to get him to come in and show that they are who they say they are, bring their ID. So they have that opportunity to try and rectify that. I apologize, when it's no signature at all, there's very little that the county can do because they can't identify who the voter was. So pretty, I think we did okay. Like, it could have been a lot more than that. I feel pretty good about 40 in 1,900 out of 1,921 ballots. Provisionals, we had 2 provisional ballots. What that means is somebody shows up or mails a ballot to the county, they're not a registered voter, and the county goes through a process to check and make sure if they're a registered voter or not. And if they're not, then they can't count that ballot. They can use the envelope that they sent and they can get them registered, but they can't count that ballot. You may remember 2 years ago, we participated in a pilot program with the state of Utah where we did same-day voter registration. So when those provisional ballots were cast and they weren't registered, we were able to count them 2 years ago, but that was a pilot program, and the state legislature has not acted on instituting that same-day voter registration provision yet. So this year, we couldn't count those 2. I was pretty happy with only 2 provisional ballots. So on the first page, this talks about our election results. So what we see is that Mayor Shepherd won the mayor's race with 1,727 votes. And in the city council race, what we see is Tim Roper receiving 1,267 votes and being elected, and Carice Thompson receiving 841 votes and being elected, with Brady Juggler receiving 765 votes and Robert Stotts receiving 545 votes. Does the council have any questions on any of the numbers? So what I need you to do is I need a motion where you declare elected Mayor Mark Shepherd, Tim Roper and Carice Thompson for the city council seats, and authorize me to send the results to the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Okay. Any questions for Nancy?
Your Honor, I will move to verify the official general election results, certifying that Mark Shepherd is elected mayor, Carice Thompson and Tim Roper are elected to city council seats, and authorize the city recorder to report those results to the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Great. I'd like to welcome Mayor Shepherd back.
Thank you.
Councilmember Roper and Councilmember-elect Thompson.
Thank you again to everybody. They're never fun. Would love to say that they are, but they're just not fun. They're a lot of work and a lot of stress. But it's a good process, and I'm very pleased with the vote by mail. Still not thrilled with the turnout. But again, in a municipal election where there's 2 seats on the line and an uncontested mayor, it doesn't surprise me, but I'm a little concerned that only 21% of the voters, when you mail them a ballot with a already stamped returned envelope, all they have to do is vote and stick it back in the mail. Still 21%, one in 5 actually took the time to send it back in. Well, that brings us to our communication items. To leave town tomorrow, we'll be back. Oh, we do have a financial update on the end of that. Sorry, Rich, I almost cut you off and sent you home early.
Connection. Oh, it's warming up. Okay. Okay, Mayor and Council, our fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th. So this is a update on the first quarter, July, August, September. Tonight I'll just show you that our budget overall revenues are coming in a little over what we expected. Expenditures are under budget, and the economy is strong. So, then the federal, state, and local level. So let's get through it. On the general fund, we in this column over here. Let me get a pointer here. The budget column over here, that is what we plan, where we plan to be in June of 2018, June 30th, 2018, of total revenues, total expenditures. We plan to spend down $1.85 million in our fund balance, our 1.75, but we amended the budget once already this year. Revenues overall, or year over year, are trending higher. Expenditures, we have more capital, that's most of it. And the audit is almost done. I actually just got the draft numbers today. It's not official yet. Looks like we will be at 38% of fund balance instead of the state required 25%. That's $2,088,000 over that 25%.
The unrestricted portion of this fund balance is only 10,000 different than last year, but how the percent is calculated changes based off our revenue that we bring in year to year. So it always will change 2 different ways. So now the current projection is will still be 250,000 over the 25%. Revenues in the general fund, this is our largest fund, our main fund. These are the main categories within the general fund revenue. Taxes were 129,000 higher than last year. Property taxes higher, sales tax is 6% higher than last year. Municipal telecom tax continues to drop. It's 15% or 11,000 less than last year first quarter, or 19,000, 23% less than 2 years ago first quarter. So it just continues to trend down. In licenses and permits, that's down 99,000 because of City Center project was in the first quarter last year. So that is revenues were 10% higher in our Class C road monies because of the new calculation. And that's just for 2 months. So it's 12,000 higher just in July, August. Charges for services is 67,000 less than last year first quarter. Most of that is the plan check fee from the city center. It was $28,000. But we are much closer to what we were 2 years ago first quarter. Fines and forfeitures continues at the last half-year trend of much higher fines and forfeitures. We were almost back to the fiscal 14's first quarter where we brought in 140,000. But last year it was more like 90,000. So dramatic change there. Moving on from revenues, this is looking at a full year, September to August data. And that's just because August is our most recent data we have at the time I made this report. Previously, I was reporting that our sales tax appears to be leveling off, and they were when we're going from 15 to 16. You can see from here to here was about a 6% jump. From here to here was a 5-point-something jump, and then from here to here was a 3.2. So I thought we were going to start leveling off here, but instead we jumped up to 5.7%. So not seeing a leveling off of sales tax anymore. I'm not sure how much that is explained from online or the economy. It looks like most of that's the economy. We'll get into slides later. But overall, those years is a 5.1% growth or 190,000 increase in sales tax. Here's just one concerning piece of data I've noticed just doing analysis. Even though we have 760,000 more in sales tax than 5 years ago, the Clearfield's population as a percent of Utah's population is slowly diminishing. So in July of 13, we were 1.06% of the Utah population. But as other cities grew and we had less growth, we continue to decrease. So if we had the same 1.06% of the Utah population right now, we would be bringing an additional 140,000 in sales tax. I previously was at a city that doubled in size in 5 years, and every 2 months I would petition the state our population just to get more sales tax revenue. And we will do the same here as soon as we have backup for that. But it is something we'd want to watch.
So this is, just to make sure that this is because of the proportional distribution of sales tax?
Correct. 70% of what we get is from the state pool.
Okay.
So our piece of that state pool is diminishing compared to other cities that are growing faster. Okay, all funds, this is all fund expenditures. Our payroll personnel is on par with last year. And then capital projects this year so far was the remainder of the energy efficiency project. We did a $985,000 land purchase and $300,000 in the Maintenance Operations Center Phase 2. And just for the public to know, this is very high level, I provided the council mayor and council more detailed breakdown by fund and division, and that's available. It's in the packet, and I can provide that to anybody who's interested. So everything in revenues expenses is tracking how we'd expect. These are the other funds beyond the general fund. Water, it's interesting here that water consumption's up 5.4% over the prior year, first quarter, despite having a slight water rate increase in water. We had the city center for impact fees. And then after that, the council dramatically reduced the impact fees in 2016. So we will not be bringing impact fees like we used to. But if you do compare water to 2 years ago, the trend is up because of increased consumption. Nothing interesting here. Sewer, storm, garbage. It's all tracking as we had planned and according to budget. Now I'm going to move on to the economy. Is there any questions on just Clearfield, what I've just presented so far?
So I know it's subjective, but you're comfortable that we're going to meet our projections towards that. This is where we're expected to be at this point in the calendar year.
Yes. Overall, we're looking right on track, and some things are even higher than we expected, especially sales tax, which is our main source of revenue. So the economy, just starting with the U.S. economy and then working down to the Clearfield economy. This graph just shows employment change. This is the recession, so anything blue is loss of jobs. There was 8.7 million loss of jobs in the recession. And then we had 83 consecutive months of job growth, all the way, and this data is now old, until September, we lost, it's down here. September, we lost 33,000 jobs. And that is likely just a short-term effect, perhaps from Hurricanes Harvey and Irma. Because the following month, October, we generated 261,000 jobs. So it's just a little blip of blue right here, and then we're back up into this range for the next month. So the economy is still strong. Another indication that the economy is strengthening, the central bank is going to start reducing their balance sheet in order to curb the recession. There was the buying of mortgage-backed securities in U.S. Treasuries to bolster up the economy, otherwise known as quantitative easing. So now that the economy is strengthened, they announced that they will start to reduce their balance sheet. So it's another sign the economy is doing well. One just weird thing about they are not being able to explain very well is despite a low unemployment rate of 4.2% and economic growth, they would have thought inflation would be higher. It's below 2%. The Fed likes it to be around 2%. It's just not getting there, but probably not a large concern. So getting to Clearfield, this is the best indicator we have of our local economy. The data through, our most recent data through June, I don't have July, August in here, but July, August over prior year August was 17% higher point of sales. So if in July, August and project September, we'd be close to 700,000. So this bar would be all the way up to here. So again, backing up how we're not leveling off the growth, it's actually jumping up at this point, including in Clearfield. Again, I don't know how much of that is online, but I will look to do a further analysis there, but the local economy looks good. State also, the state sales tax, gross sales grew by 5% in the same quarter. Well, actually, those 2 months was 7.7%. So state and local and federal. Economy's growing, it looks good. We're tracking our budget. So things are looking good.
Did you say then that our sales tax revenues were slight increase? Did I understand that?
Our sales tax increase,
Increase
point of
was-
sale increase was
Ah.
substantially higher than the state's growth
Okay.
for July and August, year over year. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Was it?
That's it. Hey, I have 12 minutes, though. It's not.
Thank you, Rich. All right. Just on to our reports. I'll leave town tomorrow. I'll be back on Saturday. Kent is out there with me in North Carolina. He starts our meetings tomorrow. Did meet this week with the, was this week? The CHS presidents, Clearfield High School's presidents. They have Falcons Are Fabulous. Are really excited about it. Have set some realistic goals. We won't say lofty goals. They're trying to be realistic. Hoping for some big things out there. They've asked for our help just in really publicizing Falcons Are Fabulous and getting our businesses and everybody else involved wherever we can. And doing some good things out there. That is all I had for right now. Councilmember Young?
I attended a Davis Chamber of Commerce meeting recently where several of the state legislatures for Davis County, including ours, presented, and one of the topics of discussion was the tax reform as they're looking at that. And I know we've talked about it in the city as well. I just think as I saw the numbers of the potential impact for the changes in manufacturing, it's something I think we should probably stay on top of and follow as it sure sounds to me like it would create a disincentive for communities to house manufacturing, which would completely contrast what they're trying to achieve in the first place. So if they're going to tweak it, they should make sure they need to balance it. So just my perception and thought after that. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Roper?
Attended with Councilmember Phipps. We went to the Children's Justice Gala, which was a great opportunity. Got to talk to some really nice people and bring some attention to, in my discussions, bring some attention to our programs here with Circles and the Hope Center here. A representative with the LDS Church who was really interested about the Circles program. Good. And promoting that. So, and also the Youth Commission meeting is this Thursday. Happy to get that kicked off, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Phipps?
Just a couple of things. Restoration Advisory Board that deals with groundwater contamination from Hill. They had they wanted to express their appreciation of Clearfield City, where we had a detection arise, and that I just wanted to stress there's no harm or impact to the community. This just is the Air Force's very serious monitoring of what's going on there. And they specifically mentioned the mayor, the fire department, everybody was incredibly useful and helpful in helping to take care of it. So if you want more details on it, then I can explain it to you, but I don't want to stress anybody out. They just detected an issue, they put in monitoring wells, they're watching it, they don't anticipate anything is going to miss there. It's put in a plug for the Parks and Recs Commission's Holiday Lights competition. So that's all either self-nominating or, and so if you're driving through the city and see a yard really decorated in a cool way, then let people know. We'd like to have a bunch of them because you get these nominations and then you realize that I drive past this really cool house every day and it's not on the list. Well, because nobody ended up turning it in. So it's a great thing. Builds a lot of unity to the city and makes our city look nice. So just, okay, that's all I have.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you both for attending the gala on our behalf.
It was very, for me, it was very enlightening. I learned a lot from it.
And for those who attended the Youth Star groundbreaking while I was out of town, appreciate that as well. Nice to have that building up and running. And then Congratulations to our newly elected, officially elected council members. You know, we take Tim for granted, and it's like, oh yeah, he was already here. This is the first time he'd actually had to go through the election process, and
Got me for
on
4
the
more
heavy
years.
end. And so
Glad to be here.
it's nice to have increased. Congratulations as well. Staff reports.
Yeah, just a reminder, we did send out our monthly update earlier today, and
It's Eric's fault.
at least it was good for a laugh, I think. But a lot of information there. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. And then if you could, just please pay special attention to the body of the email itself. I just tried to provide a little bit of information that may or may not be helpful as you prepare for the meeting on the 5th, but staff, we're really looking forward to that meeting. Look forward to hearing from you all as elected officials and getting direction that we can then take to department head retreat and prepare for our kickoff meeting in 2018. So it'll be a great foundation for us to start drafting that budget and get us off on the right foot for the new year. So we're looking forward to that. That's all.
Any other staff reports?
Just to go over the schedule. Next week, we'll be having 6. The following week, we'll have work and policy session on the 28th. On December 5th, you have your strategic planning session for the upcoming budget. And the 12th, we'll have work and policy session as well. If you could put on your calendars December 26th, Tuesday at 6, we'll be doing a farewell dinner for Councilmember Young. And Tuesday, January 2nd at 6 p.m. will be our oath of office ceremony. So that's pretty much our schedule through
January 2nd. And just a note, we will, next week on our council meeting, we'll start at 6 o'clock. It's our work session next week. We'll actually start across the street at the apartments at City Center. So it might come out in our emails in between, but as a reminder, we're going to start over there and take a tour of the building, of their facility. So, okay, if there's no other reports, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And just like the work session, we can just sit here all night long.
Second.
It's home. Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay, now we stand adjourned. Thank you. Hang out all night.
She sees that, she says it's a completely
When we got there, we were on motion, so Vernon actually got there before me.
But it's just her little fetish.
Yeah.
She says it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, Terrence, sitting.
Yes, December 15th. Should have brought that up. I totally didn't have it on my schedule.
I'm just looking at.
It's at Weaver State University, December 15th. And I haven't seen the official invite on it yet. But yeah.
Okay, I was supposed to.
I'm like, it was hard because then they had the training afterwards.